Let's come to aerial culling. So how humane is aerial culling? What's the evidence? So let's consider the Independent Technical Reference Group report from New South Wales assessing the humaneness of wild horse management methods. So they gave this deep thought. These were the experts who thought this through. So they reported that trapping, including with a long journey, has a severe welfare concern and is rated 7 out of 8 in terribleness for how horses feel about that. Aerial culling, when it's properly implemented, so with trained shooters, teams practiced, helicopter pilots who are experienced, in those circumstances, aerial culling actually has a moderate welfare concern, and it's rated as 4 out of 8. Ground culling, also when properly implemented, has a mild welfare concern and is rated 5 out of 8. And interestingly, that's slightly higher than aerial culling because of its longer duration. It takes longer to chase down and get close enough to a horse before you can shoot it. Now, aerial culling is used in other states. It's used in Western Australia, Queensland, Northern Territory, and the ACT. And in New South Wales and Victoria, we use aerial culling for pigs and deer. So aerial culling itself is actually widely used already. And my point here is that feral horses are not sacred cows. There's no real reason why horse culling should be banned. It's actually common practice. And this study by Jordan Hampton actually evaluated the welfare outcomes of aerial culling. So they evaluated that in terms of chase time, time to death, and total time. So the chase time averaged 73 seconds for these horses. That's 2 seconds to 11 minutes on, that's the whole range. 63% were instantly killed. Now, this is the data coming out of being measured. This is not, this is not the sensational media stuff that we saw after the Guy Fawkes cull, where people said, "Oh, here's a shot horse, it doesn't look very good." These are, when you go out and measure stuff, you actually find out what the truth is about aerial culling, and this is it. Okay, 63% are instantly killed. Time to death for non-instantly killed animals was average of 19 seconds and ranged from 3 seconds to 4 minutes. Okay, another aspect of culling, of course, is the cost. So mustering is quite expensive, at probably more than $1,000 a horse these days. And aerial culling, an order of magnitude less, around $150 a horse. So if costs are a consideration in how you're going to manage horses, aerial culling is cheaper. And while the thought of shooting a horse, is off-putting even to me. I don't like the thought of having to kill horses. You've got to consider that in the context of what happens if you don't cull. So it's not like will we cull or not. It's will we cull or will we leave them to some other fate? And let's consider what that other fate is. So if you've got a horse population increasing at 22.5% per year, then with food is scarce, they actually face mass starvation. And this is what we've seen. So we've seen horses get trapped above the snow line where they die over many days. We've also seen them starve in drought. So along the Snowy River in 2018, we saw horses starving to death. It was terrible video of horses dead, not quite dead, dying, just because there's not enough food because there's too many horses. Recently, so just last year in Guy Fawkes National Park, again, horses have bred up and they starve to death and die. And just look at the scrape marks in the soil here. This horse has not died a pleasant death. The Culling Foundation went out and did a post-fire and drought survey, and this is what they said. We observed 212 emaciated horses, 28 dead horses, and 3 dying horses. Nearly all the dead horses had suffered lingering deaths, demonstrated by the deep scuff marks made by their hooves while the animals were prostrate and struggling. So my point here is that aerial culling causes some suffering, a few seconds to minutes at worst. But leaving too many horses in the wild causes much worse suffering. And it's in that context that we really have to take urgent action in the Australian Alps. It's for this reason that the RSPCA supports horse culling, because it's just cruel not to manage these populations. Whew, okay, that's all the dead horse pictures I'm going to show. Let's just relax with this nice floral scene from the Alps.